Hello guys, before we start this championship review of Matchday 39, I just want to give you guys a quick message because I've not done one of these messages for a while. So first of all, how are you guys? I want to know how you guys are feeling. Hope you're enjoying Easter, as am I. The reason why I want to give you this message is down to my thoughts on YouTube at the moment. It's been a bit concerning recently in the past 2 to 3 weeks how performance, impressions, views, subscribers, all those rates have gone dramatically down. And I've been a lot more consistent as well. Obviously, I tried to live stream Among Us recently, and of course that flopped. And of course, I tried to live stream a watch along as well, and it was shown I don't have the proper equipment for it either. So overall, I'm just a bit stuck on what to do to try and get my channel going. And it's made me actually consider, what do I see in my future of this channel? Because it's mad. I looked at this recently. I've made over 325 videos, which is mad. That's almost as much as my actual subscriber total, which in a way is not very good reading, isn't it? And it does make me think, am I doing the right thing? So the message I want to give you guys is just a bit of a target. 500 subscribers is a big target of mine. Can we get 500 subscribers before the end of the season? That'll be when the Championship Playoff Final is. I'm predicting it's going to be the 31st of May. So that is 57 days time. As we're recording it, I'm on 439. So we actually need 61 subscribers in 57 days, which is actually not that impossible, really. But what I'm saying, if I don't achieve 500 subscribers by that time, I'm going to quit. And it's not me trying to run away from anything. It's just me realizing that I don't think I can carry on with this because it takes a lot of my day. And if I cannot see some progression, that maybe I can take this channel a little bit further, then I'm going to have to give in, because you only live once and you've got to take all the opportunities that you can. So yeah, that's my announcement. So basically, 500 subscribers before the end of the season. If I don't, there'll be no more of Let's Selectors, unfortunately. I'll explain more on my live stream later today when I do FIFA 21's predictions. But enough on that. Let's go on and talk about the controversy that went on in Matchday 39. Welcome back everyone to the channel. If you guys enjoy what you see, please make sure you do give this video a like, tremendously appreciated. I will include you guys' comments if any of you got a correct score. Well done to all of you that have got a correct score so far. I'm not going to change the scores on the Lexus Hall of Fame yet, because we still got Premier League matches going on later today, which can change everything. What I will say so far, not many of you got a correct score. It was a very difficult game week to predict. I got one correct score, which was Barnsley 1, Reading 1. And as it stands, I'm first place on the Nexus Hall of Fame. But obviously, as I said, that can all change with the Premier League game. So that's why I'm not going to update it yet. Obviously, it's a jam-packed video because we've also got to predict 12 more Championship games that are taking place on Monday and Tuesday this week as well. So in the second half of this video, we're going to predict the Championship games as well. Make sure you leave your predictions for those in the comments down below. Also, but without further ado, let's go on and talk about these games. So we start off with Bournemouth and Middlesbrough. That ended 3-1 to Bournemouth. It was a great performance by Bournemouth actually under Jonathan Woodgate, who of course manages to get a win against his former club as well. It was Philip Billing that took the lead. Definitely the best goal out of all of them. It was Solanke, and a really good bit of improvisation from Dan Zuma to flick the ball into Billing running through, and that made it 1-0 to Bournemouth. And then from the game, I think Middlesbrough tried to grow into it. They did hit the crossbar just before the first half ended from Mark Bowler header from a Neeskins Cabano cross. But apart from that, Middlesbrough weren't all that threatening to me. They did get their equaliser. It was from Duncan Watmore. It was brilliant work by Balassi, finding Watmore in a pretty big amount of space, shooting it right in the bottom right corner, and that made it 1-1. And I thought Middlesbrough may run away with this with the momentum. But what Bournemouth did really well, they really hit Middlesbrough on the counter-attack. And they got their second goal, brilliant work on the left-hand side. The cross got looped in. And it was Jefferson Lerma that had a deflected shot that Betteleni couldn't do too much about. The third goal could have been very, very avoided. It was Solanke with a shot. And Betteleni doesn't do well. He powers it straight at him, and then he scores the very easy rebound to make it 3-1 to Bournemouth. This temporarily put them into the top 6. Of course, they're now no longer the top 6 following that Reading drew against Barnsley in the later game. But they're 7th place though. They are 1 point behind Reading and they've got a game in hand as well. If they can stay consistent, I think Bournemouth got every chance, because I can see performances improving. As with Middlesbrough, I think they were just a little bit off the pace. I know they've got injuries, unfortunately for them, so they weren't really at full strength. They'll need a dramatic change around in form if they were going to get into the top 6 now, in my eyes. And Bristol City's home form curse continues to 7 games in a row as they lose 2-0 to Stoke City. It was not a game filled with best of quality, but Stoke was very well earned for their goals. The first goal came from a mistake from Tommy Rowe. He misjudged a long looping ball, and then that found Jacob Brown pretty much free in the right hand side. He squared it to Nick Powell where his shot was blocked. It was poor defending overall. I think it was Taylor Moore who couldn't quite clear it, and then Nick Powell got the rebound, making it 1-0 to Stoke. Bristol City only had 1 shot on target. Their one chance came from brilliant work from Hanlo and Masengo to managing to find the ball for a running Semenyo, which Davies made the save for. It was Sam Bell who actually led the line, the 18-year-old Bristol City graduate, which I was a bit surprised to see, but I was like, okay, you know, if he can have a breakout game, this could be an incredible game. But unfortunately, he was injured in the first 30 or so minutes, pulling a hamstring, unfortunately, and then Naki Wells had to go on and replace him. But despite that, Naki Wells did not really make too much of an impact either. Stoke got their second goal from a free kick. It was Jacob Brown who was fouled just outside of the box. And then it was Stephen Fletcher that hooked in a brilliant pinpoint free kick top right corner that made it 2-0 Stoke. I think with Stoke right now, it ends their horrific away form. It was up to 11 away games without a win or something. Now they've got one. There's definitely now a feel good factor at Stoke. As with Bristol City, they need to fix their home form as soon as they can. Nigel Pearson's got a lot of work to do. And then we see Nottingham Forest managing to get a 1-0 away victory to Cardiff. They have been performing a lot better, Nottingham Forest, recently, and I think for once they finally got a result they have been craving for based on their improved performances. It was Forest that did take the lead, of course. James Garner with the goals. Cyrus Christie, who managed to go past Joe Walls, who was napping. He charged through the right-hand side. He squared a brilliant cross, and then Garner, first-time shot into the net. It was brilliant teamwork by the two Nottingham Forest players to make it 1-0. Cardiff did have chances though. Bakuna had a chance which was saved by Samba. Wilson had opportunities. Moore had opportunities. But unfortunately, they just weren't looking all that clinical, Cardiff, today. And that was the most disappointing part, really, for how little they did test Samba in goal. And following this defeat now, they're now 5 points behind Reading, which is not a good situation for Cardiff to be in. So as with Nottingham Forest now, they managed to end their winners run that was stretching up to 6 games. So it's brilliant for Forest that they managed to pick up a win now. They're 16th place in the table. If they can pick up their form near the end of the season, because for me, I don't really think they have any bad games left now, then I think Forest could finish in a respectable position. And another East Midlands side who I think can finish in a respectable position if they keep their form up is Derby. They finally end their horrific form with a 2-0 victory against Luton. And Luton, for me, are my first team on the beach, because right now they've cracked the 50-point mark. They've got nothing to play for, and they were just uncharacteristically a little bit poor in this game. I mean, it was a bit fortunate for Derby at times. They got a real good lead, actually. They had a really intense start, and they were rewarded for a goal. It was brilliant work by Sibley to find Waghorn in the left-hand side, and he squared it to Lee Gregory to make it 1-0 to Derby. Although Luton did have chance after chance. Adebayo had 3 big chances, one of them from a brilliant counter-attacking play led by Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, and then he set Adebayo literally pretty much one-on-one. His shot, however, was shot straight at Marshall's leg. He made an acrobatic save against Glenn Ree as well. And then Derby just kind of started the second half like they started the first half. Really, really intense. And they got rewarded with a penalty. Tom Lawrence doing fantastically well in the box. Glenn Ree managed to foul Tom Lawrence in the box. Graham Shinnie stepped up for the penalty. He scored it confidently. That made it 2-0 to Derby. Derby are now 8 points ahead of Rotherham now. Of course, Rotherham have got 4 games in hand with them. But if they continue to win, they'll definitely increase the gap, and they'll definitely give themselves an opportunity to survive. And I definitely think they've strengthened their chances with this win. And then to a really dramatic game, actually, between Millwall and Rotherham, which ended 1-0. I won't lie, this game wasn't filled with the best of quality, so I was a bit disappointed on that front. But in terms of chances go, I think Rotherham actually created the better chances, and they've got to thank Bartosz Białkowski in goal. He was absolutely sensational for what I can say. Iweke had a fantastic header which was saved, literally a brilliant reflex save by Bartosz Białkowski just before the halftime whistle went. It was only really at the start of the second half when Millwall started a little bit strong that they managed to get something out of this game. The game changed when Richard Wood had to bring down Jed Wallace, who was running through on goal, getting a straight red card. Millwall almost scored directly from that free kick as well, but Johansson had to tip the ball over from the goal. And then eventually, a couple of minutes later, they do get the breakthrough, and it was Jed Wallace with an unstoppable volley. Honestly, that strike was top draw. It was brilliant quality by Jed Wallace. Although Rotherham had a missed opportunity, they were awarded a penalty. For me, I think it was a penalty. I think it was a poor foul by Jake Cooper. Michael Smith stepped up with literally a couple of minutes left, could have made it 1-1, giving him a chance of survival. But Białkowski saves the penalty, and I actually don't think it was a bad penalty. It was struck with plenty of power, but it just wasn't far enough in the corner, and Białkowski made the save. It's a brilliant win for Millwall, actually. They're 10th place right now. Also a side that could sneak into top 6 territory, but I do think they don't have enough games for it. Rotherham, of course, this is not the end of the world. They have got 4 games in hand as well. They've got really key games coming up, including a home game against Wycombe in midweek. I mean, honestly, it's now or never for Rotherham, really. If they do start winning more of these games, I think they'll have a chance. If they don't, and they go on a losing streak, then the more likely then Rotherham will be the team they'll be cut adrift. Then are we seeing Norwich potentially throw away their first place title because they dropped points for the second game in a row with a 1-1 draw against the second Lancashire side in Preston? So Norwich took the lead. Now, they were depleted of their squad because they had up to 8 players on international duty. Some were injured, some were on the bench. 2 notable absentees were Oliver Skibb and Max Aarons, and I don't even know if they're going to be available for the midweek game. But they still had Buendia and Timo Pukki and Todd Cantwell in the squad as well. So they still had a pretty strong squad, which just goes to show how ridiculously strong Norwich's squad is in terms of squad depth. Buendia was actually the one that took the lead. No one really challenged him, unfortunately, and there was a brilliant strike that made it 1-0 to Norwich. And in terms of Preston, they did have chances, actually. They should have taken the lead before Norwich scored their goal. Reece Jacobson was put pretty much 1-on-1 on goal, but his shot was saved by Krul, and the rebound came off Ched Evans' header, which was off target. But Norwich should have wrapped the game up. Timo Pukki had 4 big chances. 2 of them were from opportunities where he was 1-on-1, but it was wide of the post. And one of them he was so unlucky with in the second half, where he was put 1-on-1 again, but it hit in the underside of the crossbar and not over the line. Very unfortunate for that. And those missed chances came back to haunt Norwich, as Preston, who pretty much didn't really test Krul that much. It was only their 3rd shot on target in the entire game. Brad Potts with a deflected goal past the reach of Krul, making it 1-1. It could turn out to be a big point, and it can just be 1 point closer for safety for Preston. As in Norwich right now, their gap between the top and Watford has been cut to only 6 points now. And they've got to play each other very, very soon as well, which is going to be a really, really exciting game to watch, actually. And then are we seeing Coventry in deep trouble as Queensborough Rangers stick 3 past Coventry? And honestly, it really could have been more, because Elias Chair probably should have had a hat-trick with the amount of opportunities he had. The game was definitely inevitable within the first 80 seconds. When Chris Willock took the lead, it was from a fantastic cross by Lee Wallace and a fantastic bit of play by Elias Chair to find Lee Wallace as well. In terms of Coventry's chances go, they really didn't have anything too clear-cut, which is very, very concerning for me in my opinion. And if they had anything a bit clear-cut, you know, they probably could have got anything out of it. You know, this Queensborough Rangers side is not renowned for being really strong defensively, but Queensborough Rangers were fantastic. Also, they got their second goal from a corner, and it was Michael Rose with their own goal, and it was really, really poor on his part, really. I don't know what he was doing with his header, really. He diverted it the wrong way whatsoever. Maybe Paul Morosi's part to try and go forward, but there was no way he would have saved it anyway. Chair had 2 big chances played in by Johansson twice, and then both opportunities were saved by Morosi. Eventually got his goal in the second half. Once again, it was Johansson, combination to Elias Chair. He managed to score past Morosi, but the ball literally bounced in off Morosi's arm into the net. Really poor on his part, making it 3-0. I mean, this form's worrying for Coventry right now, in my opinion. It's only 2 wins in 13, 1 win in 7. What's concerning especially, only 4 points ahead of Rotherham. I think now they've been entered into the race as the most likely team for the likes of Rotherham, Sheffield Wednesday, or maybe even Wycombe to catch now. Watford and Sheffield Wednesday ended 1-0 to Watford. It's Watford's 6th win in a row in the Championship, the longest winning streak out of all of the teams in the Championship as of today. Sheffield Wednesday, unfortunately for them, I think we were on the back foot immediately with the fact that Dalmore was tested positive for COVID-19, so they had to watch from home. And Watford did take the lead very, very early on, and it was a Tom Lee's own goal. There's a bit of controversy with it because the referee initially ruled it out, thinking that Isaac's success was interfering with play and he was in an offside position, but eventually they confirmed that he wasn't interfering and the goal was given. But Sheffield Wednesday weren't awful for me. They did have chances. Jordan Rose looked threatening at times. Barry Bannon forced the only save from Daniel Bachmann though, and I think what was a bit disappointing was how little shots they had on target. I mean, to be honest, Watford only had 2 shots on target. They were not really looking that good themselves. But to be honest with you, there was not much to really separate for the game, and I think the 1 goal was justified in the end, with Watford being the slightly better team overall. As I said, it increases their chances of getting promoted, and for the fact that Swansea and Brentford have dropped points as well, it's just definitely proving to be a really, really good time for a Watford fan right now. As for Sheffield Wednesday, they're running out of games now. They have played 38 games on 32 points, and of course 7 points behind Coventry as well. It's not going to be easy for Sheffield Wednesday to survive, in my opinion. But for the final 3 o'clock game, we see Wycombe, bottom of the table, Wycombe pick up a 1-0 win against Blackburn Rovers. It's their 5th home win all season, and this could give them a slight glimmer of hope that maybe they can get something, because now they've hit the 30-point mark as well. Only 2 points behind Sheffield Wednesday as well, which is quite extraordinary, really. It was Fred Onyedinma with the goal, actually. It was a Joe Jacobson corner, and Onyedinma got the header pretty much unmarked. And Blackburn, I know they were out without Adam Armstrong. He's got a tendon injury, hasn't he? So they've really struggled, you know, since having him absent. It's concerning to me for how much they lacked ideas, but also how lackluster they do look going forward in the final third without Adam Armstrong being there. So Blackburn may need to find a way to try and play without him in the future terms. There was one opportunity from Rothwell where he came so close to scoring, but Stockdale made a fantastic point-blank save to save him out, but that was pretty much the closest that Blackburn went to scoring. Look at the contrast between this to what it was in Matchday 2, where they beat Wycombe by 5-0. I mean, the contrast is night and day, and for there to be such a contrast is quite worrying in my opinion, and I think Tony Mowbray will need to try and pick up results if he wants to stay as Blackburn manager, in my opinion. Then we go to the later games. We start off with Barnsley and Reading, which ended 1-1, and if I'm going to be honest, I think it was slightly the fairer result, actually. Both teams had real gilt-edged chances to try and get the game to go to their way. I mean, especially Reading, but we'll go to that in a minute. Reading actually, I think, had the better chances in the opening game, really, and they did take the lead. It was a very simple goal, actually. It was from a Raphael goal kick to Rinamoto, and then a long looping ball which cut through the whole defence, and then it was a touch, like a brilliant first-time touch by Jaria, and then his shot was even more sublime to make it 1-0 to Reading. And of course, Reading probably could have even scored before that, for the fact that Matchday ran pretty much the full length of the pitch to be one-on-one with Collins, capitalising on a mistake from Mads Andersen. But he shot his ball over the goal. Reading were very well settled, but Barnsley weren't having it. They had a lot of opportunities, but they weren't looking all that clinical. Callum Britton came the closest to scoring in the half, where his cross hit the woodwork. And in terms of the second half, it was very tightly contested. You can tell it was two sides really not wanting to give too much away, and it was Barnsley that did manage to get their chance to get an equaliser from the penalty. It was Yeardum who did concede the penalty. Alex Moat stepped up, went straight down the middle. Barnsley did have a goal disallowed as well, apparently from a foul from a goalkeeper from Daryl DK. Bit controversial there, but what was even more dramatic was how Reading didn't get their second goal. There was a mix-up in the back line, and Matchday managed to tackle Collins in goal, leaving Lucas Dow with an open net, and he shoots it wide. I mean, it's the miss of the season for me. I want to know in the comments, actually, is that the miss of the season? Let me know of what you think has been the biggest miss of the season in the comments down below. In terms of this game, I don't think both these sides would have really liked to draw. I think both of these sides would have preferably wanted to win, but at least this draw kind of stabilizes their position in the top 6 places. And then we see Birmingham pick up a crucial 1-0 win against Swansea. It is 2 home wins in a row for Lee Bowyer as Birmingham manager. Are they going to do the Great Escape again? Honestly, I think they will. They competed with Swansea. They weren't sitting in the back foot, letting Swansea play, all of that. And that was what was most impressive with me with Birmingham, really. They had a penalty in the first half. Jukovic stepped up and tried to trick Freddie Woodman going down the middle, but Woodman managed to outsmart him and he saved the penalty. And then it was Swansea that did have the chances. Jamal Lowe came close in the first half where Etheridge made a save. Swansea weren't really looking all that threatening and looking like a team pretty low in confidence. Then in the final minute of the game, Birmingham win a penalty. Sunjic being caught by the air. I mean, apparently Danda caught Sunjic, but for me, that was really minimal contact in my opinion. But the penalty was taken by Scott Hogan this time, and he didn't miss. He made it 1-0 to Birmingham, and that could be the most important goal that Birmingham have scored all season. As with Swansea, it's now 3 games in a row. They've not scored a goal. Very concerning signs for Swansea now, in my opinion. They're really throwing away their chances of getting promoted now, in my opinion. As with Birmingham, I think the Great Escape is on. And then finally to the game yesterday, Huddersfield 1, Brentford 1. I think this was deserved actually. Huddersfield were really good, and what they were really good with Brentford as well, they dealt with their high press as well. They were well drilled at the back. They really disrupted Brentford's style of play with their tiki-taka stuff and their quick counter-attacks. And it was Huddersfield that got the first goal. It was a bit of a mare from David Raya, who for some reason went out of his goal really to collect a pass. Huddersfield's high press meant they won the ball back early, and Lewis O'Brien pretty much shot it in an empty net, making it 1-0 to Huddersfield. Brentford did have chances though. They had 2 pretty big penalty appeals ruled out, albeit they do get a pretty controversial equaliser. It was from a Brentford corner, and then it looked like a Brentford player got the final touch, but for some reason a Brentford throw is awarded. Huddersfield players are completely falling asleep, and then Naby Sarr does a brilliant goal line clearance, and then it was Sorensen that manages to get in the rebound, making it 1-1. I think based on the pattern of the play, a draw was deserved. Ivan Toney hit the post within minutes from Brentford getting their equaliser, and then Duaney, who was a player that I didn't see a lot in Huddersfield, but he looked very bright when I did see him play. He managed to force a save out of David Raya. It's a great point for Huddersfield. I think they have done enough to ensure their survival as well. And to be fair, Huddersfield are getting a bit of consistency now. It's 5 games unbeaten now. Of course, 4 of those games have come from draw. In terms of Brentford, it's their 3rd draw in a row, and a missed opportunity for the fact that Swansea lost the day before. They could have really made a big statement there, but I just think Brentford have just not looked confident enough in the final third with the players that they got. And if I'm honest with you, with the gap between them and Watford now stretching to 9 points and only having 1 game in hand for them, I think it's going to be very difficult for Brentford to get promoted now, in my opinion. So that wraps it up for my championship reaction to Matchday 39. On the left hand side is the championship table. Norwich, Watford, top 2 once again. The top 2 now cut to 6 points. Brentford, Swansea, Barnsley and Reading stay in the top 6. Bournemouth just behind 1 point with a game in hand as well. Cardiff, Middlesbrough, Millwall, Stoke and then Crystal Rangers making the top half. Then you've got Luton, Bristol City, Blackburn and Nottingham Forest, the team safe from relegation. Then you've got Preston, Huddersfield, Derby, Birmingham and Coventry, the team still fighting relegation. And the bottom 3 where you've got Rotherham, Sheffield Wednesday and Wycombe. Only 5 points separating the bottom 3 teams now. I mean, now it's looking a little bit more congested in the bottom part of the table, which is getting really exciting. So before I predict the midweek fixtures, I'm going to go through my play of the weekend, result of the weekend, and goal of the weekend as of usual. My goal of the weekend, I'm going to pick Jed Wallace's strike. It was absolutely top draw. Just the power and the quality he had. My goal of the weekend goes to Jed Wallace. Result of the weekend for me has got to go to Birmingham and Swansea. I mean, what a win that was for Birmingham. And I think this will save their season. My result of the weekend is going to Birmingham 1, Swansea 0. And finally, the player of the weekend. This was tough for me to pick one, but for me, with the individual performance, I got to give it to Bartosz Białkowski to save a penalty and for how good he was with the sort of saves he was making. Some of them were just ridiculous. My player of the weekend goes to Bartosz Białkowski. So finally, to end the video, I'm going to predict what I think will happen on Monday and Tuesday's games in the Championship. So my predictions are on the left hand side of the screen right now. Of course, I'm going to include Monday's Premier League games as well. I'll talk through the Championship ones. Middlesbrough and Watford I think will be really tight actually. I'm going to say 2-1 Watford. I think it'll be close. Blackburn, Bournemouth. I'm going to say 2-0 Bournemouth. Coventry and Bristol City. I mean, two teams not in great form, really. Coventry need to get something in this game, but Bristol City have looked better away from home than they have done at home. I'll say a 1-1 draw, though. Luton and Barnsley, I think Luton are going to take their foot off the gas now this season. Barnsley was something to play for. They've got to make sure they keep their performances up. I'm going to say 3-1 Barnsley. Nottingham Forest and Queensborough Rangers, I think they'll cancel each other out. I'm going to say 1-1. Reading and Derby, I think this is going to be a very, very tightly contested game. Obviously, both these teams with something to play for. I'm going to say a scrappy 1-0 win to Reading. I can see it. Rotherham and Wycombe. I mean, it's the team with the worst home form going up against the team with the worst away form. I originally had 0-0, but I'm actually going to change it to 1-0 Rotherham. I think they've got a real point to prove, actually. And I think they'll get a very rare home win. Stoke and Millwall. I'm going to say 1-0 Stoke. I don't see too many goals in those games. Swansea Preston was really tough for me to predict. But I'm going to say 1-1 actually. I'm going to say Swansea end their goal drought, but I think Preston will get something based on Swansea not doing too well lately. Sheffield Wednesday and Cardiff. Once again, a game I don't see too many goals, but I think Cardiff may edge this. I'm going to say 1-0 Cardiff. Brentford and Birmingham. Birmingham got a strong record against Brentford, but I'm going to say 1-1. I think it's going to be 4 successive draws for Brentford. Norwich and Huddersfield. I'm going to say 2-1 Norwich. But that wraps it up for today's video. As always, if you want your comment to be included and you want to be in the lesson today, make sure you comment your championship predictions in the comments down below. But that wraps it up for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, please make sure you do give this video a like, tremendously appreciated. 15 likes for this video would be terrifically appreciated. And please subscribe to my channel as well, as I just said in my intro. If I don't achieve 500 subscribers at the end of the season, that's it. No more Alexas. So if you don't want to see the back end of me, then feel free to dislike and unsubscribe. You know, I'm happy to see that. But if you do want to see me again in the near future, please make sure you do subscribe if you haven't done. But for the people who have subscribed, please share my channel as well to people who may subscribe, because that is how I'm going to grow around here. But thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary for seeing this video. And as always, take care, everyone.